Now I want to open the floor for questions to the speakers. Maybe the three of you want to come to the front again so the rest can see you. And it can be questions about their talks and their research topics, but also maybe you have more general questions to all three of them just about being a woman in AI and robotics. So, floor is open.
You don't have to ask questions. There's drinks and food inside.
Maybe that's just why you're here. Yeah.
There.
In the meantime, I try to get this to work again.
Hi, my name is Jan. Good evening. Thank you all for this, all your talks. Very, very exciting and really mind-opening. I think being in this library and your talks remind me of one question that currently with the emergence of all these large language models and like ChatGPT being the most prominent of them, like probably like this is probably like a fraction of what goes into these models to train them. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that is based on articles and books that I would say are male dominated and also Western dominated. My question is, from your research, do you see that there is already a bias showing through? When you type in a question and you want to see some reasoning coming out of that, and maybe you have an example where that shows, and maybe also you have an answer how we could remedy that in the future. How can we make that more global and more female?
Yes, there's biases in a variety of contexts. So image generators, right? If you're looking up...
Sorry, Aimee, could you use the mic for the camera?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, there are biases. If, for example, you're thinking about image generators and you type in, doctor, you want a picture of a doctor, it's usually a white male in a white lab coat, yeah. Nurse or teacher is usually a female portrayed. So we see, but it's not, it's not the right way to say that the AI is biased. It is reflecting cultural and societal biases that we have in our data, and they become a part of the results, the recommendations, or the output of the artificial intelligence. We also see biases in the policing sector. So we have a police officer here who actually spent some time working at the IWE, looking at the problems associated with predictive policing. So then it's not even just about, is a doctor always a male? Is a nurse or a teacher always a female? But in society, who or which demographics are prone or are thought to be committing crimes? And then you have a prediction made, and then the police are sent to certain neighborhoods. Or based on how an individual looks or their socioeconomic status, it might be suggested that they could commit a crime. So the biases go on and on and on. Is there something we can do to fix it? There's a lot of suggestions like synthetic data or creating data to sort of even the playing field when you're talking about just training. But it's, this is also something that we address at the lab, that it's a societal problem. It's not necessarily, there isn't necessarily a technological fix for something that is a societal problem. So when we're talking about like repairing AI or fixing AI, it's really about repairing society, fixing society. And that's why the work that Modestha is doing is so important, because it's saying, look, pay attention to this problem. We need to solve this massive problem. It's not just about AI.
May I add something to that?
You need the microphone.
So I think one remedy could be to gather the data of other countries and continents and use that for training, so that we can see what the problems are and what the societal issues are from that country as well, and use that for the training. Although that may by itself be biased too, but still it's better to have more data from other places than the global north.
But then in addition to that, though, it's important to consider digital sovereignty. So it's not about us taking data from Ghana and how can we use it on our Google's cloud infrastructure, but it's about how can we empower and support the continent of Africa or countries within Africa to be able to create their own AI that reflects the needs and the values of those cultures. But maybe you.
Yeah, let me just add that when I was doing my research, I discovered that a research by a team of African scholars in AI ethics realized that of the 81 or so ethical principles that have been successfully argued into being incorporated in AI, none of them came from the African context. None of them. So then the question is, are these ethical principles applicable in different areas, or are they thinking about only the West or Europe? That is the nature of the problem. So what can be done, for example, to remedy this? Because AI is a global phenomenon. I just told you how Africa is intimately involved in this technology. What can be done to remedy this problem? It's good that Professor Wynsberghe is doing this project where she's involving people from all over the continent as much as she can. And so we're arguing, for example, that it is necessary to promote or to include African ethical values in AI ethical principles. And I think that for me, I'm very impressed by that. And if people are taking this seriously, then that can answer some of the questions that you have raised. That's a little that I want to add.
No, thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
Everyone is thirsty.
I think the favorite word of this event is obstacle. In the context of robotics, in the context of women's rights, in the context of Africa. So, no more obstacles to the dream.
All right. I got the hint. All right. Well, then I want to thank the speakers once more. And you may sit if you want, or stand, whatever. So then I also want to thank you all once more for being here. This event should have given you a little taste of what you get out of becoming a member of Women in AI Robotics. Because on the one hand, you get these inspiring talks by experts in different fields, different topics related to AI and robotics. Because, the talks were quite different. Also, the second part of the event shows the other thing you get out of membership of Women in AI Robotics is because we're going to go get to know each other over some drinks and snacks. And that's what you get, a network, a community of women, of people in AI and robotics. So really, I hope we inspired some of you to register as a member. You can do that on the website or by scanning this QR code. It's also all over the foyer, or you can do it later, And when you register as a member, I'm going to be keeping you up to date about events here in Bonn. And I can already announce that we have our first meetup taking place in January. On the 16th of January, on the Tuesday in the evening. The place is to be determined, but of course it's going to be here in Bonn. So I really hope to see some of you there. And I also just want to point out some other events that Women in AI Robotics have coming up in other city chapters. And you can also find this by scanning the QR codes. And then before, there's one more obstacle in the way. Because now we're going to see the graphic recording that Carsten did of these talks. And I myself am very curious. And I'll make sure to make this online available afterwards as well. Very cool. Do you want to...
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. First we have the general subject, Women in AI and Robotics. Then we have the short introduction that it's a global non-profit network with the headquarters in Munich. And the aim is to close the gender gap between male and female studies in robotics and AI. And then we had the talk about the robotics. We aim for foresighted behavior in robotics. We have to remove the obstacles. We have VR enhanced navigation. And we can also use robotics for harvesting. Then we should dare to shift subjects in studies. We have ethical issues as well as environmental concerns. And then we had the talk about resources are remined in Africa with questionable effect for health and economy. And then we have them causing heavy pollution. And the question in the end was, how can we change the traditional biases? That's it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you to Marcus for helping me organize this event and everyone else from the IWE that helped. And well, go enjoy the drinks and the snacks in the foyer.